There is a level of strength, both mental and physical, that makes a person appear almost untouchable, as if life's storms pass through them without leaving a scratch. This is the kind of strength people whisper about. The kind that makes others uncomfortable because it exposes everything they themselves avoid. When we see someone who never hesitates, never bargains with themselves, never collapses under pressure, we call it luck. We say she was born with it. He has good genetics. She knows the right people. But beneath those excuses lies a truth most refuse to face. Unbreakable strength has a cost, and very few are willing to pay it. Over 400 years ago, in the Tokugawa era of Japan, lived a man who embodied this frightening clarity. He fought more than 60 duels, beginning at age 13, and never lost a single one. His name was Miyamoto Musashi, and he was not the strongest, not the fastest, not even the most gifted. Yet he carried something that no opponent could shatter: a mind without hesitation and a body without limits. Before he died, he wrote everything he had learned into the Book of 5 Rings, a blueprint for turning an ordinary human into someone others look at and think, how is that possible? But to understand Musashi's path, we must look at someone far more ordinary, someone who mirrors the quiet struggle of countless people today. His name was Lucas, a 32-year-old engineer, married, father of 2, living a life that looked stable from the outside but felt hollow from within. Every morning, he promised himself he would change. He would work out. He would eat clean. He would wake up early. He would finally take control. Yet every promise dissolved within days. 3 gym memberships bought. 3 abandoned. Diets broken by Wednesday. Alarms snoozed 7 times. Intention strong. Execution weak. It was not just his body that failed him. His mind wavered whenever life demanded courage. At work, pressure made him freeze. At home, difficult conversations were postponed until they rotted. When his children needed discipline, he quietly stepped aside, leaving everything to his wife. He was no longer acting, only reacting, drifting through days on a kind of emotional autopilot. Then, during a crucial meeting, his world cracked. A sudden panic attack gripped him, heart racing, palms sweating, room spinning. Doctors found nothing physically wrong. The diagnosis was simple yet devastating: stress, anxiety, and a mind untrained to tell discomfort from threat. And this, unknowingly, became the beginning of his awakening. When Lucas returned home from the doctor, something inside him refused to go back to the old pattern. He began searching for answers, not the shallow ones wrapped in motivational slogans, but something deeper, something that could rebuild him from the inside out. That search led him to Miyamoto Musashi and the Book of 5 Rings. A text he first assumed was philosophy, but soon discovered was a manual for war, a war against one's own weaknesses. The first principle he encountered stunned him. Musashi wrote, "Have no preferences. Rely on no single weapon." At first it made no sense. How could someone grow stronger without depending on a tool or a method? But then the truth revealed itself. If your strength only appears when the conditions are perfect, then it is not strength at all. If you can only train when the gym is open, you are weak. If you can only meditate when the room is silent, you are weak. If you can only focus when you slept well, you are weak. Musashi trained in rain and cold, with wooden swords, metal swords, 2 swords, or none. He refused the comfort of routine because the enemy would never wait for him to be ready. Lucas realized he had lived in the exact opposite way. Every part of his discipline depended on outside factors. So he began the elimination. The excuses had to die before strength could live. Lucas started small because small was all he could handle. He chose one simple task: 20 push-ups a day. Anywhere. Anytime. under any condition. No special equipment, no perfect schedule, no permission from motivation, just his body and the floor. During the first week, it felt almost easy, a quiet spark of hope he had not felt in years. But by week 2, soreness crawled through his arms and chest. By week 3, he was traveling for work, exhausted in a dull hotel room. By week 4, he caught the flu. This was the point he had always quit before. But now Musashi's words echoed through him. Practice must continue regardless of circumstance. So he adapted. 10 push-ups instead of 20, 5 instead of 10, but never 0. Never the return to nothingness. This consistency began shaping his body, but his mind remained turbulent. Anxiety still clawed at him, whispering threats about work, money, failure, family. He was stronger, yet still fragile. Then he found Musashi's most important teaching, the still mind. Musashi wrote that during battle, one's mind should be the same as when drinking tea, calm, unchanged, unmoved. Lucas began a brutal experiment whenever fear rose in traffic, in meetings, or during arguments. He did nothing, no reaction, only awareness. His body screamed to fight or flee, but he simply observed, and slowly, the chaos inside him began to loosen its grip. By day 40, Lucas could drop to the floor and do his push-ups without thinking. But Musashi's teachings reminded him that a calm mind without a capable body is an illusion. Musashi wrote that when the body is weak, the mind wavers, and Lucas knew this was true. His emotional control was improving, but he had never tested himself under real physical strain. Comfort was still his shadow, so he made a decision that frightened him: 100 push-ups every single day for 30 days. It did not matter how long it took or how many times he had to stop. Day 1 lasted 45 minutes. Day 5 left his arms trembling like wet paper. On day 10, his wife told him he was pushing too hard, that this was unnecessary, even reckless. But Lucas remembered Musashi training under blazing heat, freezing winds, and endless battles. Strength was never built in comfort. By day 15, he could finish in 20 minutes. By day 30, he completed the full 100 in 12 minutes without stopping. But the true transformation was not in his arms or chest. It was in the quiet shift inside him. Something impossible had become routine. He no longer negotiated with difficulty. He simply met it. This was the way of the warrior, the moment he stopped asking whether he could and started acting as if he must. Yet, Musashi taught that strength is not proven in the strike, but in the moments after it. He called this Zanshin, the mind that remains. Victory, he said, is never the end. The true danger is the instant you relax, the instant you believe the battle is over. Lucas realized this flaw in himself immediately. Every time he finished a project, he collapsed into distraction. Every time he achieved a small goal, he celebrated by abandoning the very habits that brought him there. Consistency leaked through the cracks of his relief. So he began practicing Zanshin in the smallest ways. After finishing his 100 push-ups, instead of dropping to the floor gasping, he remained standing for 30 seconds, breathing steadily, feeling his heartbeat slow. After difficult meetings, instead of grabbing his phone to escape, he sat quietly for 1 minute, replaying the conversation, integrating the lesson. It seemed insignificant, but these moments rewired something deep inside him. Day by day, Lucas became more present. Co-workers noticed he no longer drifted during discussions. His wife remarked that he listened fully, without the usual restless eyes. It was as if a gentle awareness lingered around him, a quiet readiness that did not fade even when the action ended. 90 days into his journey, Lucas was no longer reacting to life. He was inhabiting it. The real test arrived when Lucas least expected it. On day 105 of his training, he was called into an emergency meeting. The air in the room was heavy, the kind that warns you something irreversible is coming. The company was cutting staff, and Lucas was on the list. The old Lucas would have unraveled instantly, heart racing, thoughts spiraling, imagining disaster after disaster. But now, something different happened. He felt the initial shock, a brief tightening in his chest, and then silence. Not numbness, not denial, but a steady quietness rooted deep inside him. He asked simple questions about the schedule, thanked his boss, and returned to his desk to finish the day's tasks. Around him, others were crying, calling home, panicking. Lucas sat calmly, not because he did not care, but because he had trained his mind to stand firm in the storm. Over the next 30 days, while others drowned in fear, Lucas moved with purpose. He updated his resume, reached out to old contacts, went to interviews. By day 23, he had 3 offers on the table and chose the one that paid 40% more. Those who panicked remained unemployed months later. Musashi called this way of thinking Hyoho, the strategy of not losing. Lucas applied it in his new job. He did not try to shine. He simply made no careless mistakes, honored his word, and avoided unnecessary drama. And quietly, reliability became his greatest weapon. 6 months into his transformation, Lucas had become stronger, calmer, and more capable than he had ever imagined. Yet one fear still lingered deep inside him, the fear of losing everything he had built if he missed even a single day. Then he encountered Musashi's final teaching, Sutemi, the abandonment of the self. Musashi's words were clear: you are not your victories or your failures. You are only the continuous practice. Lucas stopped counting days. He stopped seeking praise. He trained without showing anyone, without posting progress, without needing recognition. When he removed the ego, his discipline became something pure, something that existed whether or not anyone was watching. At first, people around him grew uncomfortable. Friends stopped joking about his routines. Co-workers complained less in his presence. Even family members said he was becoming too serious. But Lucas understood their discomfort was a reflection of their own hesitation. When you live with clarity, you become a mirror. The truth he learned is simple. Strength comes from removing the parts of yourself that cling to excuses, fear, and validation. Anyone can begin this path today by choosing one practice and refusing to negotiate with it.